Prime Time Local News, serving the Lakeland and Midwest regions.
Well, happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Primetime Local News. Connor Chan and Abby St. John here. Got lots on the show today, including our question of the day. Kind of a fun one to start off the Monday. If you could pick somebody to narrate your life, who would it be? I kind of said John Krasinski or Paul Rudd. I think that'd be kind of cool to do.
I kind of want my sister to, because I think it would just be hilarious just from my perspective, just because, you know, me and my sister have that kind of relationship. But celebrity-wise, I'm not entirely sure who I would want to voice my life.
I definitely don't want my mother to narrate my life. We all know how she is on the show. No, I was kidding. But we'll get to some of those answers a lot more later on the show. But right now, let's head over to Josh Ryan, who was on location earlier.
Thanks very much. We're here at the Lloydminster Airport where the 186 Air Cadet Squadron will participate in their annual aviation training. Each cadet having a chance to get into an airplane and take flight, learning a little bit about the safety features and procedures involved with piloting an aircraft, as well as some other useful information about flight in general. We certainly look forward to learning about flight as well, and we'll have interviews with both the cadets, their commanding officer, and the pilots in question. Back to you guys in studio. We'll have more from the airport over the next 2 hours.
Friday afternoon saw fire crews from Blackfoot and Kit Scotty attended a massive structure fire in Hawkstone Estates. Fire crews responded to a call where a garage from a home was fully engulfed in flames.
At present, we have not determined cause and origin of the fire. We're having an investigator come down through insurance. There was a lot of exposure damage to other structures around. The house received some damage. Boat and holiday trailer. So it's quite extensive fire.
Poppill says that having appliances unplugged and checking around your property are important safety reminders.
You know, ensure that you don't leave equipment and tools plugged in for long periods of times, and periodically check your buildings and your properties. More than likely it's caused by electrical short or somewhere.
The fire is currently under investigation and is not considered suspicious. Synergy Credit Union is lending a few hands to the 2020 Saskatchewan Games that is being held here next summer. The Synergy Credit Union announced this morning they are donating money to the upcoming event. They are also being recognized as being the leader in the volunteering push.
$50,000 going towards the volunteerism piece is basically getting them a lot of training involved. We have to make sure that they're clothed well. We have to make sure that they're able to fulfill their pieces, and with that, it's things around security around Athletes Village. It's around how do we set up at the games to make sure things are there and that the venues are set up well for our volunteers.
The games rely heavily on sponsors to operate the events by greeting the athletes, scorekeeping, and other needed duties.
Huge. Without sponsors, we really are limited in terms of what we can do and provide for the athletes. We went in with a motto of care and comfort for the athletes and competition. When you build those 3 C's in, and then we threw a 4th one in collaboration to let people know that what Lloydminster is all about.
The Saskatchewan Summer Games Host Society is asking anyone who is interested in volunteering to save the dates July 26th to August 1st. The call for volunteers will occur in early 2020. As the summer is beginning and more people are spending time outside, it's a good time to be aware of ticks. The guest speaker at this week's Rotary meeting spoke about how even though ticks are newer to this area, they still have a chance to carry diseases.
The main message is to be aware that a couple of things. I mean, certainly not all ticks carry Lyme disease, and as a matter of fact, quite a small percentage of them do, but you still want to be wary of it because if you are infected by Lyme disease, it can be very minor, or it can be quite disastrous.
He also spoke about where you may find ticks and how they could affect you.
Well, you're going to see ticks primarily if you're out in the bushes or out in long grass. Tick bites, you often don't feel them apparently due to the fact that they kind of inject a bit of a local anesthetic as they're biting. The telltale sign of a tick with Lyme disease is that you get what they call a bullseye reaction, but that's not something you want to bank on because not every tick will give you that.
If you do get bit by a tick, there is medication available for both humans and pets. A local boy from right here in Lloydminster will soon be representing Canada on the international stage. Rufy will be heading down to Southern California come August, where he'll compete in the World's Championships of Performing Arts. To help pay his way to the competition, Rufy held a concert on Friday night and is grateful for the community's support he received.
To be honest, it feels amazing to be able to show my talent and for everyone to just come and support me, and I'm happy that I make them happy.
Rufy began singing when he was 3 years old. Originally inspired by his grandpa, he hopes to do the same with his music.
I love to inspire people, and eventually I want to show everyone my music and inspire other people with the music as other influencers have inspired me with their music.
Rufy's next performance will take place in Edmonton on June 1st. And now we're going to Josh Ryan, who is on location today.
Thanks very much. I'm joined now by Captain M.T. Owens of the 186 Air Cadet Squadron here in Lloydminster. Just tell us really quickly the importance of today. It's a pretty exciting day for every one of your cadets and certainly for the officers as well.
Yes, it is. Today is important because every year we have our mandatory aviation training as part of the cadet program, and we got to come out today again this year to fly with Border City Aviation, and Steve Watt and his team, they take us every year and fly all of our cadets, and going up in an aircraft is part of their training that they get to do every year if the weather cooperates, and we're really fortunate to have this opportunity here.
Absolutely. Now, talk through a little bit of what they go through. So there's mandatory safety checking, there's the experience of being up in a cockpit, up in an airplane for the first time for some of them perhaps, and there's also just some other general areas of knowledge. So kind of talk a little bit about what the main takeaways are for each of the cadets.
Absolutely. So there's a number of cadets who've never been flying, and today will be their first flight. And there's some of our older cadets who have gone through the ground school program. And one that's here today is actually going to get his glider pilot's license this summer. He was accepted to go to Gimli. And so we're really excited for him. So he actually might instruct the walk around before they go for a flight. And he'll explain the parts of the aircraft and explain to the junior cadets how it all works so that he can practice teaching and have some hands-on opportunities and they can watch.
Perfect. Thank you so much once again. We'll have more from the Lloydminster Airport, but first, back to the studio.
All right, thanks very much, Josh. Take a look at your current temperature right now, 22 degrees currently right now for us here in Lloydminster, with a bit of sun and cloud mix, which we experienced earlier throughout the day today. Some very low light winds, almost at 10 kilometers an hour there. Some records this time of year, warmest day was 30 degrees back in 1986, while -1 was the coolest back in 1989. So here is a look at the satellite radar map over the next little bit here. Very thin, not as crazy as we saw last week, especially on that Friday where we experienced all that rain and hail. Very minimal cloud coverage in the area. Well, we will be seeing a few clouds here and there over the next couple of days. So here is another look at current temperatures. 23 in Cold Lake right now, 24 in Athabasca, Edmonton, and Whitecourt, 21 degrees in Red Deer and Rocky Mountain House, 25 degrees out in Jasper currently, 24 degrees in North Battleford and Saskatoon, 24 also out in Meadow Lake, 23 degrees in Prince Albert and Melfort. So here as we take a look regionally, more in depth to the look there. 7 degrees overnight in North Battleford with mostly cloudy skies there, going up to 27 degrees tomorrow. We're starting to get a little bit warmer right now as we're seeing over the next couple of days. So 27 degrees tomorrow for North Battleford, 9 degrees overnight in Cold Lake with mostly cloudy skies there and a bit of clear there. 28 degrees on tomorrow with the daytime high, mostly sun and a few clouds here and there. Pretty little cloudy for us overnight here in Lloydminster, sitting at 9 degrees, warming up to 27 tomorrow with a sun and cloud mix there. So here's a look at the next 3 days. 29, on Wednesday. Very warm in the mornings over the next 2 days. So 29 Wednesday with a sun and cloud mix there. A little clear on Thursday with a high of 29, a low there of 13 degrees. Should be a very warm morning indeed. But that's a first look at your weather. We'll have more prime time local news after the break.
Prime time local news, serving the Lakeland and Midwest regions.
Welcome back. Well, for years, the Lloydminster Rotary Club has been dedicated to helping organizations in and around the community. In this week's retrospect, I take a look at why donating is so important to the club.
With a handshake, the Big Brothers and Big Sisters Foundation received some additional funding for an important program. The money was donated by the Border City Rotary Club.
Well, it's a great day for Rotary here. The president, I guess, has got the nice thing of having $1,000 at his discretion to use for a program that he chooses. And this year I got to choose the Big Brothers Big Sisters anti-bullying program, so we were able to make a check presentation to them for $1,000 this morning.
The group also presented the Lloydminster Interval Home with the final payment of $5,000 and a $15,000 commitment. The reason for the selection of the Big Brothers and Big Sisters Foundation was inspired by personal experiences.
Anti-bullying was a program that really stuck out to me. I know you wouldn't tell by looking at me, but I wasn't the most popular kid in school all the time growing up, and bullying was something that touched me as well. I know that there's lots of funding challenges to get these programs going.
Flash forward to today, and the Rotary Club continues to support various groups around the community.
We believe in serving the community. That's why we joined Rotary. And we have a couple of fundraisers through the year. One we just finished here, Lobster Fest. The other is Dream Vacation. Gives you a community at large an opportunity to support Rotary, who supports these other individual charity groups.
Since 2009 and long before, Rotary has always been dedicated to giving back.
As far as Rotary over the last 5 or 10 years, I mean, that's always been our standard practice to support our community and to support the groups that need our support.
That's it for this week's Retrospect.
Retrospect is brought to you by Webb's Machinery. Webb's Machinery, your New Holland dealer in Vermilion, Bakerville, and Lamont.
And now we're going to take a look at your stock market prices for today.
We restore more than just property. We restore hope. When disaster strikes, call the one that can make it right. First General Services, your property restoration experts.
Welcome back. Well, the busy buzz of the bee and good honey go hand in hand. Gerard Lampow visits a local bee farm as the pollinators are prepping for production.
There she is right there. You can see her, eh, Gerard?
That's Queen Bee taking charge ahead of another production year. Sean Stewart is nearing 6 years of beekeeping with all of its overwinter challenges.
We lost about 50%. We run about not very many hives, about 8 hives. So we did lose 4 hives.
When a hive peaks in the summer, it could have about 60,000 bees, so to lose 4 hives, well, that's over 200,000 bees. With the warmer weather, it's time for the honey factory to roll out production.
So we tried something new, and we're going with package bees. They're from New Zealand, and we bought those from Bee Made, but they come with a mated queen and about 3 pounds of bees.
That's the plan this year as he replenishes his stock and hopes for a little rain to help the area crops to emerge and for his bees to assist in pollination. His losses are pushing him to the next stage of growth, raising his own queen bee. I
kind of want to be a little more self-reliant and not have to rely on buying my bees and queens from other people. So that's something I'm going to attempt here probably in the next little bit here.
Raising queens and his own bees will also allow him to select desired genetics suited for his operation and add to his skill set.
Talked with lots of beekeepers over the years that have been involved in it for 20, 30 years, and they're still learning, and there's always something new to learn.
Time will tell how Mother Nature will treat the bee factory this summer. For now, Queen Bee is marshalling her forces to make honey over the summertime.
When they go into fall, they start dwindling down and just concentrate on forming a small cluster to survive the winter and protect the queen.
Gerard Lampow, Primetime Local News.
Coming up tonight on Ag Live, the latest farmland values report is out, plus
Feed Options Plan B, and the Beef Cattle Research Council has the numbers on beef's environmental footprint. Spoiler alert, it's down as well. Circle the dates as yet another Ag Tech event is on this summer. Those stories are on the menu tonight at 7:30 on Ag Life. See you then.
An agroclimate specialist with Canada's Agriculture Ministry suggests the extended dry weather trend on the prairies could stick around for a while. Trevor Hadwin says that typically wet and dry cycles last for long periods of time, and the last 3 years have been extremely dry, starting in 2017. Hadwin says the fluctuations from wet to dry cycles sometimes go 10 years and sometimes a little longer. Although less common, Hadwin explained that Saskatchewan has even had extended drought conditions that lasted 25 to 30 years. Prince Albert agrologist George Luco says despite the arid conditions, modern farmers are much better equipped to handle droughts. And that's all for Ag. Sports is next, but first here's a look at your ag prices.
Every member of the City Centre Auto Body team has been through extensive training. We're constantly upgrading our team's education to reflect current collision repair technique.
The tough start to 2019 continues for the Prairie Pirates, and despite reinforcements, the area's needed adjustment haven't changed. Josh Ryan has more on the Pirates' double loss on Sunday.
Sunday afternoon was another rough outing at the plate for the Pirates, getting shut out to start the afternoon, then failing to keep up with the Munster Red Sox bats in the next contest.
Got to hit the ball. Got to move the guys over. Too many runners left on base. When they're left on, you don't get runs. Simple as that. When they're there, you got to hit them in.
A few mental lapses early didn't help on the defensive end in Game 2, putting them behind at the start.
I think we got to work on our chemistry a bit. We got to compete out there a little bit harder and want to actually win when we go on the field. Just kind of knowing where people are and knowing the game more, so you get more into each other. The more you bond as a team, the better you're going to play.
Having 3 players return from Oyens Baseball Academy was a boost, even though it wasn't enough.
Those are definitely 3 key players to our lineup, so it's always nice having them there. And it's a shame we couldn't compete as well as we wanted to and get the win, but what can you do?
Going to the plate with an approach in mind should help the Pirates in future games.
You're going to get fastball most likely first pitch, so why not take a swing at it? Try and have a good approach, try and hit the ball hard no matter what you're doing. So in situations, runners in scoring position, you got to try and get them in any way you can.
And this weekend's matchup against the Saskatoon Giants should put that to the test.
Playing against Saskatoon teams are always intense. They're always good teams, so seeing competitive teams like that will definitely help.
Josh Ryan, Primetime Local Sports.
And now we're going to Josh Ryan, who is on location today.
Back once again at the Lloydminster Airport now with Sergeant Brett Rowan of the 186 Air Cadet Squadron. Brett, who's been to provincials for public speaking, so a little more practice for you today. What has it been like to be up in the cockpit of an aircraft?
Well, it's very interesting. It's absolutely one of my favorite experiences in Air Cadets to go up in the little Cessna planes, because it's a lot of fun. They kind of wobble a little bit, which it's quite the experience. You go up and you can see the entire city, so it's awesome to see.
And now this is an experience you've had a couple of times as you've been with Air Cadets for a few years. Is that something you want to continue to pursue in the future, get a pilot's license, things like that?
Yeah, with Air Cadets, I find I've had lots of opportunities to take on stuff like this, and I feel that actually it'd be a great opportunity to get it through Air Cadets. You can get scholarships through Air Cadets to get your pilot's license, which is an awesome opportunity. It's one of the best opportunities for a free program like this. So I think I would definitely be interested in pursuing my pilot's license in the future through Air Cadets.
as I'm sure a number of other Air Cadets here at Lloydminster would be interested as well. Now, I was told off camera that I get to announce to you something. You were one of about a dozen Air Cadets selected from across the country to go to Halifax for the National Tattoo Competition. Is this the first you're hearing of this?
Yeah, this is, I applied for this. This is something that I really wanted to go to because as a bagpiper, like, you want to get experiences like this. I had no idea before this, so that's super awesome. I'm really excited to go to Halifax. This tattoo should be awesome. So, yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Indeed. You heard it here first. One of only a dozen Air Cadets that will get to play bagpipes with the best of the best out in Halifax, Nova Scotia. Thank you once again, Sergeant Rowan, for joining us. And we will go back to your studio and get a look at weather, social media, and more.
All right, thanks very much, Josh. Take a look at your current temperatures right now. 22 degrees still for us here in Lloydminster. 23 also out in Cold Lake, Marwayne, and Vermilion. 24 is also out in Vegreville, Bonnyville, and St. Paul. 23 is in Wainwright, Provost, and Macklin. 23 in Maidstone. 24 for North Battleford. 24 also out in Green Lake as well. 22 degrees in La Loche and Buffalo Narrows, and La Ronge and Flin Flon as well. 10 degrees for Wollaston Lake. 14 in Uranium City and South End. 24 degrees for Fort McMurray. 28 in Peace River. 26 degrees out in Grand Prairie. 22 degrees out in Slave Lake. Out in southern Alberta, 19 degrees for Medicine Hat right now, 20 in both Banff and Calgary, 22 degrees for Coronation, 17 degrees for Lethbridge, 24 degrees out in Kindersley as we move over to southern Saskatchewan, 17 in Swift Current right now, 19 for both Moose Jaw and Regina, 21 degrees in Yorkton, and 17 degrees out in Estevan. As we take a look at temperatures for tomorrow, going to be fairly sunny and cloudy tomorrow with a 27 degrees for us in the immediate area here in Lloydminster, Marwayne, Maidstone, Vermilion, and North Battleford. 27 degrees also out in Macklin, 26 in Edmonton, 28 for Vegreville and Pearsland, 29 degrees in Green Lake and Meadow Lake as well. So here is your next 7-day forecast right now. 29 degrees on Wednesday as well as 29 degrees Thursday. Both days we're expecting nice sunny and cloudy days, but more clear on Thursday. Goes back to a little more cloud and sun mix on Friday with a high of 22, 28 on Saturday as we get a little warmer there. 20 degrees on Sunday with a 62% chance we could see another thunder shower, and 19 degrees on Monday with mostly cloudy skies and a 25% chance of some rain. But that's a look at your 7-day forecast. We'll have more primetime local news after the break.
Prime-time local news, serving the Lakeland and Midwest regions.
Welcome back. Well, the Weather Network has released its forecast for the coming summer, and it is predicting conditions will be starkly different across the country. For waterlogged residents in Ontario and Quebec, the network says the wet weather this spring will continue during the summer months, and that could lead to a heightened risk of flash flooding. In contrast, the Weather Network is forecasting more hot, dry weather across most of Western Canada, and that raises the wildfire threat for an area that already seen wildfire evacuations. Now we're going to Josh Ryan, who is on location today.
Back at the Lloydminster Airport, and I'm joined by Sergeant Adam Ali, who's a veteran with the Air Cadet Squadron, the 186 Air Cadet Squadron in Lloydminster, and you are the only cadet that is going on a special assignment this year.
Yes, that is right. I'm going this summer to Gimli, Manitoba to get my glider's pilot's license, hopefully, and hopefully I'll get that and I can bring back that knowledge to the to Lloydminster and hopefully spread it with the Air Cadets here and hopefully advance everything that we've done.
That sounds fantastic. So you must be excited for that opportunity. What sort of experience is that like in terms of how long is the period, how extensive is it, what kind of things will you be doing getting that license?
So it's 6 weeks and that includes ground school, which is the bookwork of how an airplane flies, what to do. And in that 6 weeks, you also do a practical, so you'll be actually flying. And then during that time, you'll have to write the Transport Canada exam, which will get you your license and pass a flying test, which also one of the steps to get the license.
Now, how many times have you been able to fly in your past as we hear another plane going off? How many times have you gotten to fly or been in a plane such as the one going off right now?
I've been able to fly at least 5 times or more with the Air Cadets, and in my own time, probably a lot more.
And what's the best part about flying?
The best part about flying is the view you get, the rush of excitement as you take off and as you land, and just the general feel of it, all of it.
As we hear that plane take off, I'm sure that must be exhilarating, just that initial burst when you get into the air. Thank you so much for joining us, Adam, and hope you have a great experience this summer. We'll get to talk to a few more cadets before the end of our show today, and let's hear what's going on from Abby and Connor.
Question of the day today is kind of a fun one. If you could pick somebody to narrate your life, who would it be? A lot of different answers. Every answer you look at. One that was interesting to me was someone wanted Winnie the Pooh to narrate their life.
I like that.
That's
I really like
very
that
cute
one.
indeed. Ozzy Osbourne was there. Interesting. Austin Powers. Gordon Ramsay, I think that'd be a really, really fun one.
That would be interesting.
Getting screamed at in a British accent.
Yeah.
Kristen Wiig was one. Morgan Freeman, the common one as well. Sam Elliott, the guy from Star is Born, very famous. He got that really deep voice. I think he would suit very well. I know we were talking about how earlier in the show that for me it'd be more like I'd want either John Krasinski or Paul Rudd to do that. I know even like how you said you wanted your sister to do it.
Yeah, I would like my sister. And if I had to pick like a celebrity, I think I was thinking about it a little bit further, and I was thinking like either like Tina Fey or Amy Poehler. Poehler, they're just so funny, and I think that, you know, it would be funny to have them.
Somebody that I know on our commented my name on there.
Yeah.
And I think that was just a joke.
Probably.
Nobody wants me to narrate their life.
Oof.
When I can't get through my own life, really, at times.
Okay.
Some other comments were Snoop Dogg was another one.
Oh yeah, I was
Snoop
thinking
Dogg.
about him.
The way that he could just say things. I watched him like comment on nature shows. If
Yeah.
anyone hasn't seen
I
that,
saw him do a voiceover on a makeup tutorial on YouTube. It was really funny. He knew what he surprisingly knew what he was talking about. So
That is
and
fun.
it was like he just has like this calming, like soothing voice. So I would pick him as well.
Some other ones that were notable, Samuel L. Jackson was in there. I think that'd be another cool one. A lot of F-bombs that maybe dropped, a lot of inappropriate things maybe said. And then Keanu Reeves I found interesting as well.
That's a good one.
Keanu Reeves seems like a very, awkward, kind of serious, but he seems like
Yeah.
a genuine person as well. I think it'd be kind of a good one.
Yeah.
Well, it's that time of the show because it's a new week, and that means a new chance for your pet to win a $50 gift card to the Lloydminster Pet Pads. Let's start off with Billy.
I love everything that's going on in this photo. His face, his ears, his eyes, everything.
And this one, Milo's not impressed.
The complete opposite from Billy.
It's still cute.
I would still love
cute.
it.
Next
Yeah.
up, we have Molly and Jackie.
Oh, I love it.
Nice
I
little
love
pair
it.
there. Next, we have Dodge and Jack.
Oh, another duo, and their eyes are so pretty and green.
And last, this is Maximum, this little
Aw.
husky puppy.
That is adorable.
It's very adorable. Who cannot say no to that face?
Exactly.
Well, if your pet was shown on today, you're automatically entered to win a Lloydminster Pet Pad gift card.
We want to see your pet. Send photos of your pet and their name to our Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram to have them featured on Pet of the Day. Your name will be entered into a weekly draw for a gift certificate from the Pet Pad.
Continuing our Mother's series, I am joined here with Krista and her husband, Christian, talking about her battle with postpartum depression. Thank you for being here. I know this is a really difficult subject to talk about, but can you just share bits of your story just about what you've gone through?
Sure. Well, first, thanks for having us here. Postpartum depression is very near and dear to our heart because it was something that's greatly impacted our family. My journey into motherhood started rocky. Our first son was born 10 weeks premature and very, very sick, and we knew that he wouldn't survive. And so I struggled with postpartum, well, I should say I struggled with post-traumatic stress disorder. I was never actually diagnosed, and actually when I was sort of recounting my story, I don't think that ever came up as a conversation about postpartum depression or anxiety. And so now looking back, I find that a bit odd. And I went through the process like anyone would expect with losing Aiden. And then we decided to continue our family we sort of shared that we had some concerns just with a previous loss and maybe even just being older parents, but nobody seemed concerned, and so we sort of progressed as we enjoyed our pregnancy for the most part. I think the first time, now when we look back, I can sort of see that, there was a little bit of concern when we learned that Elliot might have, I can't even think, sorry, I'm blanking. Down syndrome, when they thought that maybe he might have Down syndrome. That sort of, I think, set in that first anxiety. And I think more of that was just more how we learned about it coming back from holidays and having phone messages saying like, it's urgent, please call the doctor's office and book an appointment. And so I think that's when we first started to, or at least I started to notice that maybe things weren't as smooth as I had hoped that they would be, but having Elliot was exciting, but right away I experienced pretty extreme postpartum depression. More of it was more anxiety. I think my depression came in later on. I think, I don't know, would you say that sounds right? It was probably more my anxiety that really had me going. I would worry about just like the littlest things, like if he was crying, I didn't know what to do, and he wasn't sleeping and I wasn't sleeping, and so I spent a lot of our early days struggling with lack of sleep, not eating properly, living on caffeine, so I'm sure lots of moms can relate to that. So it becomes that vicious cycle, right? You're not eating properly, you're not sleeping properly, and so and then you've got all these hormones that you're dealing with, and so for our family, there wasn't any supports here in Lloydminster, and so it wasn't until Elliot was about 14 months in which that my husband would drive me to Saskatoon to go to a support group there, and that was probably, it was the hardest thing to do. One, we had to leave our baby behind, and then I had to go and sit in a room with all these people that I didn't know, and the first meeting I just cried. The entire time I just cried, and but we went back and my husband took me, so I mean 3 hours there and 3 hours back, and so it was a big commitment for our family to give that up, and I'm so grateful for the supports that we had to trust people with Elliot. Christian's mom and dad are really close, so it was nice to know that Grandma and Grandpa were looking after him while we were getting the support that we needed. Is there anything else? I think for our family, we struggled, a lot. And I think in the beginning we asked questions and we were curious, and I would say to moms and even to dads, or even to maybe it's a grandma or an auntie or an uncle, if you're concerned about somebody, talk to them and really lean in and have that conversation with them. Yeah. I feel like we would say to people that we weren't doing well, and lots of times people would say, oh, well, being sleepless, that's just part of motherhood. And we had a baby that the only time he would sleep was in a moving vehicle or if you were walking. And so the old adage of mom sleeps when baby sleeps, that's pretty hard to do if you're driving a vehicle or going out for walks. I was probably at my thinnest, but I wasn't eating well. I was living off of caffeine and I was not getting any sleep at all. I would say that I probably struggled with a bit of psychosis. I would have bits of hallucinations, but nothing, we talked about it the other day, and maybe I needed to be hospitalized, but I think for moms, it's hard to say and to share those really deep, dark secrets because you don't understand them. Yeah. So then you worry that if you share them, that someone else might not understand them, and we judge ourselves. So I'm grateful that I was able to share everything with my husband, but I know not all families have that because it's so hard to understand because you can't see what we're going through, and so a lot of time we hide it. So
And I guess what would you say to those moms who feel like they have no one to talk to, but they deep down they need someone to hear them? What would you say to those moms?
I would say reach out to someone that you trust and that you love, whether it's your spouse, maybe it's your mom or your sister, or a family doctor, and let them know how, like, don't sugarcoat it. I know it's so hard to share, but I think that they need to hear your voice, and they need to know that you're struggling and that there's no shame in struggling. We've got some amazing resources here in our community. I'm so proud that Midwest Family Connections has really taken the lead, and we've got a Mother's First group that meets every Thursday. So that's for moms who are struggling with postpartum depression, or maybe you're just concerned that something doesn't feel right. For me, having that support group was my saving grace. I don't think I would be here today if it wasn't for my husband taking me to Saskatoon. Those women, it's funny because we always joke that we know some of the most intimate and darkest, deepest secrets, but for the longest time we didn't even know each other's last names.
Yeah.
So that support group saved my life, and so I'm very grateful for the fact that Midwest Family Connections hosts the Mother's First group. And so even if you can get to that group, I think that's a great start, or talking to your family physician or someone that you know that cares for you unconditionally and that's not gonna judge you, then.
Okay, well, I want to say thank you so much for coming on here and talking about your story. I know it's really difficult, but I believe that it will help a lot of moms in your situation. So thank you so much for coming and sharing your story.
Yeah. And thank you for having us. It's our greatest hope that we can make a difference in our community and help other families.
Of course, yeah.
Hey, it's Sarah from Real Country 97.7, and here's your look at what's going on in St. Paul this week. Join the Cornerstone Co-op Wine Club for a meeting on May 31st. They have partnered with Amy of Wine Knows and some local wine stewards in the Lakeland to uncork a wine experience exclusive for members of the Cornerstone Co-op. Get the latest wine trends, tasting notes, pairing ideas, and recipes from around the world. Tickets are available at the Co-op Liquor Store for only $10, so go on down and reserve your seat today. The Color Me Art Run is coming to St. Paul June 8th, and it's the most fun you'll ever have at a 5K. Run or walk through 5 different color stations to become a work of art. Children ages 2 and under that are in a stroller or carried may attend for free, but will not be given a t-shirt. Children ages 10 and under must be accompanied by an adult. Tickets are $40 each. Early bird pricing is 20% off general admission until May 31st. Early bird and general admission registration packages include 1 color packet, water, a t-shirt, and sunglasses. More information on this event is available at realcountrystpaul.ca/events. I'm Sarah, and that was your look at what's going on in St. Paul this week.
Welcome back on a Monday with Josh and Buck to talk sports. Things were slowed down a little bit this weekend on the local scene, though there's still a few things to talk about. Quite the weekend in professional sports, no doubt.
Yes.
But we want to touch up on some of the pressing issues for sports fans locally, and that starts with the Northwest Prairie Pirates. Their season is underway here in Lloydminster, taking place at Wallace Field, all of their home games. Had a tough one on Sunday, and they're now off to a rough start, 1-5 to start the AAA season after a pair of losses to the Munster Red Sox.
Yeah, you know, a good pitcher's duel on the weekend didn't come through with that, and left a lot of runners on base. You know what? And so you're not producing those runs. Sometimes you have to play a little bit of small ball. Maybe that's what they're not doing. You know, I haven't gone up to see them play yet. They're getting some of those players who are OAN back into the lineup, but again, I understand they're going to lose them very shortly for another weekend. So the early part of the season, sometimes you got some new pieces, you got some new players onto the team, and you're trying to put everything together. So, you know what? Yeah, 1-5, but that's a long season ahead. So.
It definitely is a long season, and fortunately for them, they do have a couple of weeks to kind of figure a few more things out before they really need to start playing winning baseball if they want to finally make that return to the AAA provincial championship rather than the AA provincial championship, which they of course have managed to win a couple of times. As you mentioned, the Oyen players back in action. Kelton Hanley in particular had a great weekend. They will miss him against Saskatoon. Now, we want to just jump right into this topic, which is, I think, going to be very fresh on your mind the rest of the summer, which is the CPCA Tour is back for 2019, starting this weekend. And how excited are you, first of all? And second of all, what are your initial predictions for the season?
Well, it's tough because it's opening weekend is North Battleford, 3 days there, and to say predictions, there's so many things come into play. I don't think anybody last year would have predicted Dale Mitswing, a rookie driver, to win the CPCA championship. You always have to look at Chris Smalley, High Point Award winner last year. He's going to be right in the hunt. Jamie Labicane, BJ Carey, Chance Bensmiller, Todd Baptiste, all those drivers. Brad McMahon has a couple more years under his belt. He's going to be a solid driver too. Of course, one of the storylines, Amber LaRue, becoming the first female CPCA driver in the history of the association. She'll make her debut on Friday. So a lot of exciting things. And the opening weekend, there's a lot of jitters. As much as these drivers have been doing it for years and years, some of the horses are new. And that becomes a bit of an element that you have to deal with this weekend in North Battleford. But the weather looks great, and it should be a good start to the season.
If I have to go through my own early prediction, I think that this is going to be an even tighter field than last year. You had, right down to the wire, basically 6-7 drivers with a chance of being that Final Four. It came down to the last 6 drivers on the last day. And I think with the improvement of a couple of the younger drivers, as well as I think Ray Mitswing really wants to end the year on a good note and end his career, you could see 7-8 guys again down in that final weekend. Yeah,
and that's another story. Ray Mitswing, a legendary driver. This will be his final trip on the tracks this summer, so that's an exciting thing for the Chief, a 7-time Canadian champion. And you have a young guy in this, like Lane Tournier, Chris Flanagan, and Danny Ringett, all 3 young guys. They're getting their taste for the first time in the Calgary Stampede. So look at those 3 young guys to really make some strides this year in 2019.
And lastly, before we go, if you have to pick one guy to win this weekend, is it going to be Chris Smalley, or are you going to go with someone else to surprise us?
Chris Smalley's had a lot of success on that track. I believe he's won 3 of the last 4 show titles there. So, yeah, probably Chris Smalley to start off the season.
It's a safe pick, but also probably a wise pick from Greg Buchanan. We'll have more coming up on Primetime Local News. It's amazing what a little elevation will do for the view. We're here on the roof of the Lloydminster Airport as the Lloydminster Air Cadet Squadron, the 186 Air Cadet Squadron, has a few more flights left over the course of their aviation training this Sunday. We got to talk to a few Air Cadets. We'll have a few more available, as well as one of the pilots who has a background as an Air Cadet. Many of the people at this airport, in fact, have a background with the 186 Squadron, near and dear to their hearts, and they now have a chance to give back to those who helped make them the people they are today. Looking forward to that opportunity. Who knows? Maybe I'll even get into an airplane myself. Stick around on Primetime Local News.
All right. Thanks very much, Josh. Take a look at your 7-day forecast one last time here. 27 degrees for us tomorrow with mostly sun and a few clouds. A little more cloud coverage as well on the Wednesday with a high at 29. A little clear on Thursday with mostly sunny skies and a few clouds there. 22 degrees on Friday with that sun and cloud mix with a high as we start to see double-digit lows over the next couple of days, so fairly warm mornings for the most part. 10 degrees the low there on Friday, 13 degrees the low there for Thursday, and also 10 degrees the low there on Saturday as we'll see a high of 28 degrees. Another gorgeous weekend expected for us here in Lloydminster, as well as on Sunday. We could see another thunder shower. That's 62% chance of some showers there. The high there are 20 with some decent winds though picking up close to 25 kilometers an hour from the northwest there. And then we go back to a little cloudier on Monday with a high of 19 degrees and a low there of 7. Usually our averages for this time of year for the daytime high around 19 degrees and low of 6 for our daytime average there.